Loyola Law School professor Jessica Levinson. You've been all over the airwaves because of this breaking news. Thanks for being with us tonight. I have the 49-page indictment. I read through it today. It includes a penalty sheet that I added it up. If he's convicted on all 37 charges, he would face up to 100 years in federal prison. Professor, what do you make of these charges, and could we actually see the former president end up in prison?
So these are serious charges, and the indictment, as you said, is 49 pages, and it lays out not just the federal statutes at issue, but how we got to this moment. And all the way from the National Archives saying to the former president, we think you have documents that you shouldn't have, to the Department of Justice executing a search warrant, to, the Department of Justice asking for a subpoena, the FBI executing a search warrant, and everything that happens essentially in between. What we learned today, if the indictment is true and the prosecution can prove it, then our national security was at risk. These are documents that are highly sensitive, that need to be stored in a certain way, that need to be seen and accessed only by certain people. So yes, this is a very serious set of allegations here. Now, will the former president, if he's convicted, serve, hundreds or decades? I think that's unlikely for a couple of reasons. One is, I think that you could see that sentences, if there is a conviction, could be served concurrently. So it wouldn't be consecutively, it could be concurrently. The other, if the president wins, we could see him trying to give himself a pardon. We've never seen a self-pardon before. Constitutionally, we don't know if that's permissible, but that would be a way to literally have a get-out-of-jail-free card. All of which is to say there's a long way between an indictment, a conviction, and sentencing.
What is the difference between Trump, and we've seen the pictures here within the indictment, Trump having these classified documents in a bathroom, by the toilet, in a shower, versus President Biden having them in the garage by his Corvette? What's the difference?
That's a great question. And we'll add in Vice President Pence, who had classified documents that he shouldn't have had as well. So what's the difference here? The difference isn't necessarily, is it by a bathroom or is it by a Corvette? The difference is, did you hand it over? Were you the one to alert the government, I have documents I shouldn't have? And then once the government asked, were you the one to say, yes, come look, in the case of Vice President Pence and President Biden? Or were you the one, if the allegations in the indictment were true, to lie about it, to hide, to try and obstruct a federal investigation? So the difference isn't Corvette versus ballroom. The difference is really in how you treated those documents, what you did with them, and whether or not you tried to hide them from the government.
These charges are coming, of course, from the Biden Justice Department against his former and now current opponent. How is this not political?
So I think the reason it's not political, and for some people, they'll never get to the second part of my sentence, meaning it will always look political. But we have a Department of Justice. We've always had this, where the Attorney General is appointed by the president. If we're not going to trust that system, then we need a new way of picking the Attorney General. So number one, we have the Attorney General, who should operate as an independent player. But number two, this is actually an indictment that was overseen by a special counsel, not somebody who was appointed a political appointment by the president. And it's somebody who said, grand jury, what do you think? This wasn't President Biden who tried to go to federal court to sue President Trump. There's no legal way you could do this. This is the Attorney General then saying to a special counsel that you're in charge of this, and the special counsel then going to a group of citizens, the grand jury, saying, do you think there's enough there for an indictment? The
special counsel today is saying, making it clear he wants this to be a speedy trial. Do you foresee that happening?
No, honestly, I don't. I think for the former president and for most defendants, a good strategy is to try and delay. Obviously, for most defendants, you don't have the electoral calendar as such a big issue in a potential trial. But I think speedy we need to see as aspirational, not realistic.
Right. Okay. Very good. Well, I learned a lot, as always, from you, Jessica Levinson, Loyola Law School professor. Thanks so much.
Thank you.